Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. I want you to sit here just for a moment. Those listening as well. I want you to ponder what brings you to a place where you would listen to this, or be here in an audience in front of me now. Again, we ask you, what is going on with you that would bring you to this place with me? If it is true that I represent that which is from the creative source, then it is also true that I know you. All the things that you have been taught about what you have considered to be God, not exactly right. The creative source of this universe that is also of your galaxy knows you. I know you. I know you well, because you're family. And that is how I'm going to speak to you this night, in this assemblage, and anyone who is listening, to say that the energy on this planet is shifting so fast that there are new things to tell you, updates on what we just told you. And this energy is not something you're going to necessarily see on the broadcast or on the net. It's energy you're going to see with you. Some of you will feel this and know it is happening. Others have not experienced it yet. All of you are on such a beautiful, unique path that nothing I say will be for all. Use spiritual logic. I am not here to give you a doctrine that is going to work for absolutely every single person here, because you, family, are all unique and different and on different levels and paths of awareness. There are some listening to this message who just tuned in to see if it's for them. Do you like the energy or do you not? Do you expect benevolent shift or do you not? We teach that it is here, new energy for you, for the planet, for the way everything works, especially for old souls, is here. I want to reveal to you some basics, some esoterics, some things you ought to know and hear about that maybe you didn't consider before. And all of them are positive, every single one. What is happening on the planet right now is spectacular when it comes to personal energy. In review, we have told you that even that which is changing in space around your solar system is making a difference. For it postures that which is the heliosphere, which speaks to the magnetic grid, which literally enables consciousness. We expected this. Your 2012 time corresponded with a new place your solar system is heading into around the galaxy. It was scheduled. Whether you were here or not, with free choice, it would have happened. But you're here. This begins to change, literally, the energy of the system you call your own around your sun. The magnetics you call your own around the planet, which is related, more than related, to an acceleration of consciousness and awareness. This energy is starting to wake you up, old soul. Old information. You've gone through some calibrations and recalibrations, not all, but some. There are those listening to my voice who needed to hear that. There's nothing wrong with you, dear one. I know the potential of who is listening to this message. It's beautiful. It's not fortune telling. I know the potentials, for we see an overview that you cannot in your individual life. It's beautiful to see how these things are starting to mesh together and how seriously you're taking this new energy. I'm going to start with this. Are you a reader? Are you able to sit in front of another human being and through whatever process you think you're doing, are you able then to help them by sensing their energy or that which is around their energy or their health perhaps, and give them a reading? Did you know what else is there? Did you put this together yet? Human beings want to put everything in a box. I am in the reader box, you will say. What are you doing? What is the process? How are you doing it? We have told you this before. You are a sensitive. And as a sensitive, you are literally sitting in their patterned Merkaba. That which is their flower of life, the geometry which makes up the patterning of that which is their Merkaba, is literally being seen, recognized, felt, and verbalized by you. Now, what else is there, dear reader, that you may be missing? You are sitting in the perfect spot because you're a sensitive. You're doing exactly what a healer does. Oh, but you're a reader. Better not be a healer. There's that box. I want you to step out of the box and understand there is one process for all. Reader, healer, past life, regressionist, you're all doing the same thing with the same tools. I want you to try and step out of the box. Reader, you're a healer. Now, some of you listening to this right now know I'm right because you've been experiencing it, haven't you? You'll read something, you'll give advice, and they come back healed. You realize what you've done, healer? As a sensitive, this energy is expanding anything you thought you were doing. Healer, you're also a reader. You're also a past life regressionist. All of these things you may not want to hear. Learn about them. Understand what is also there, because you're in the same soup together. The Merkaba is the Merkaba. The patterns are the patterns. You're not just reading or healing. You have the ability as a sensitive to do it all. That's just one of many things that are starting to change from that which you are used to in the box to what's going on today. Things are expanding for you. There are those of you who started noticing something. You're not a reader, but you are. You're picking it up, aren't you? You've said certain things to certain people and their mouth dropped open. How could you know that? They'll say. How do you feel that? They would say. And you're doing it in normal, idle conversation. Are you ready to sit in the reader chair? Dear ones, it's not a reader chair. It's an intuitive chair. As a sensitive, you have marvelous abilities of helping those around you and humanity. Let me give you the big one. Without being a reader or a healer and just walking around with other human beings, you are being sensitive to what it is you can do to help them just by your compassion, the guidance you would have in idle conversation to make suggestions to your friends, to your children, to your mates. Closet reader. You're an old soul and it's beginning to show. How do we label something like this? I don't know. I don't know a word. It's never happened before. An acceleration of cooperation from the other side of the veil to you. We said something extremely controversial. It was in a city you called Austin. We started talking about clearing. We made the statement that that which you have done for centuries as light workers has started to shift. We told you you don't have to do manual physical clearing anymore. When you walk into a room, it is not necessary to tone or to smudge or to meditate in order to clear the energy of the room. This is controversial because the room has seen many dark things. It has seen all manner of dark human consciousness. You may be walking into it for the first time, and your very intuitive cells are saying, clear this room, so I will not step into the dark. And what we're saying to you right now, dear light worker, you're carrying a beacon of light that the dark will never penetrate, period. It's new. You walk into the room carrying your light, and the dark runs from you. You clear it by your presence. How do you like that? Now I would like to alter that. It's not going to work, light worker, if you're going to carry crutches with you, just in case you don't have enough light. Now, do not misinterpret this. There are some of you who carry with you either psychologically or physically help so you won't get in trouble. Your favorite guardian angel, your favorite crystal, always with you so you won't get in trouble. By those actions, which are very common, very understandable, very logical in an old energy, by those actions you're telling your own cells, your own psyche, even your higher self, you don't trust your light. My light's pretty good, but I got my angel. You know, I got my crystal too. I dare you to get rid of both of them. I dare you. They integrate into you, dear ones. I want you to hold a ceremony. This is what's going to make you feel so much better. I want you to hold a ceremony of integration where you will integrate that which is your favorite anything into your own energy. If you're a healer and you just love Saint Germain, for instance, I want you to integrate this saint's powerful energy of violet flame into you. Your favorite crystal, you may have even named it. I know who's here. I want you to integrate it and stop carrying it. You're telling your body you're done with crutches because all that you needed before is in you. And you will step into these places more powerful than you've ever been before. Look at the common spiritual sense of what I'm saying. You've graduated, dear one. You now have the energy you ask for in an energy that supports that energy you ask for. Act like it. Claim it. Take it. And the dark will run from you. That's number 2. I would like to tell you something that is happening right now on this planet with old souls that we told you long ago would happen. This is a review, but it's not. The review would be that it's on its way. The update is that it's here. Years ago, we told you that there would come a day when the same remedy or process could be presented to many people, and only a few would get healed. They'd have the same biology, perhaps even the same gender, the same thing wrong with them, the same process, and only a few would be healed. This comes from years ago, a channeling about the future potential that you would have of healing yourself, and it's here. I spoke of this before many times. Many times. But it's never been as profound as it is today. Again, I present to you that the consciousness of belief is needed for what you have as the next step in your life of self-healing, self-awareness, affirmation. Anything you are trying to accomplish right now, even synchronicity, you have got to align yourself with pure intent and believe it before it'll happen. I will continue on this subject and this review over and over in future channels so that many can hear it who are not hearing this one. The first step that you can take as you leave this room is cognizing what has happened. Believe it or not. The body picks up on this belief as an absolute. It's going to happen. It knows it's going to happen. As you start talking to innate, as you start perhaps decoding the cells, as you work with your own psyche, as you do your own affirmations, perhaps, or the processes that you have learned, the energy work that you've studied, or perhaps even sitting in front of a healer. If you have doubt, don't go. You're wasting your time. It's that profound, dear ones. Belief is the key. You must have it in this energy to move to these things and these new tools that we've talked about now for 26 years. Is this clear? This is consciousness, is it not? We have spoke of this in the past many times. It's not about actions. It's not how many times you do something. It's about your belief. Is it going to work or is it not? Sometimes this takes time, and over a period of time, belief solidifies into truth. The man who sits in the chair did not start out with 100% belief. It was more like 2. And every time he sat in the chair, he was given a cause and effect relationship that tweaked his interest as an engineer and problem solver. That was it. That's not a belief in things beyond. That's curiosity. And that became belief. The more he did it, the more he saw the results of it. And the more he saw the results of it, he believed in the cause and effect relationship. He got to see it every time, 100%. He cognized it. Something's going to happen when I sit in the chair. That was step 1. That took 2 years. Then it started to happen over and over. He started to get messages. There was things he could not know delivered to him. He started to cognize that. In other words, accept it as his truth. Over a period of long experience, it comes to what you see today. When he sits in the chair, he knows, I'm going to be here. He knows it's going to be channel time. He looks forward to it. It's absolute and will be because of the love of spirit that he has taken in as his truth. What have you taken in as your truth? Possibility? Could be? Sounds nice? I know who's here. I know who's listening. This is a joy for me, for I'm able to tickle that which is your curiosity. To look at yourself, to know yourself, and to think to yourself, well, maybe I should be a little more positive about my truth. And it's going to make a difference. You see, I see potentials. I see the healings that have not happened yet. I get giddy in my chair for seeing the joy of some of you who don't know what's coming. Beautiful, positive, coming your way. I want you to feel it, dear ones. There is a cooperative energy that has never been here before. There is a reason why it's here. There's science behind it. We have given it to you. Science that is not yet seen as science. This cooperative energy, I'm going to tell you, is so profound, it begs you to try things again that didn't work before. I'll say it again because that's on somebody's mind here. Trying things again that did not work before. Now, what fool would try something when they know it doesn't work? One who knows that the energy has shifted from fool to awareness. Now you know the timing. Now you know the wind is at your back. You're starting to understand intuition on how to do some things that you were in the dark before about. There is a cooperative energy for light workers in particular. Light workers have something that others do not, and it's old soul experience. The more experience you've had on the planet, it's like a well of energy that comes up and supports your logic spiritually. Someone new on the planet would not be able to do what you're doing, only because they haven't had the experience yet that you have. Every single past life gives you information that now is starting to stack up, and you are being drawn to understand it. You are feeling wiser by the year because of this. Your discernment is starting to change because of this. You're starting to use spiritual logic and come to new aha experiences because of this. Your age doesn't matter. Disconnect the link between your chronological age and the spiritual age on this planet. There are young people here who know that they are very old souls. There are seniors here who also know they are as well. There is no linkage, dear one. There's a propensity to link it, but don't. Now, there's a reason why this is happening. And we have given you the ABCs of this reasoning. We've asked you to look at it and believe it. It's eye-rolling. When you pass this marker of 2012, you have opened energies called time capsules that were left here by your seed biology, the Pleiadians. We have identified the nulls and the nodes of this planet. You can find it easily. My partner has made it available. You know the pairings of 5 of them. You know where all of them are. They are slowly starting to open and pour into the grids of this planet tools that you need to enhance what you have. The bottom line is this: your consciousness is actually related to the magnetic grid of the planet. Now you know why I'm the magnetic master. This has been the plan all along, to expose this, that the planet physically is allied to you. The planet itself is one of your grids. We have told you that before. Gaia is alive with you and you with it. We've even told you that the cetaceans of the ocean are also aware of it. They are the storehouses for your Akash. How do you like that? It's in Gaia too. Now, what this all means is that these time capsules open and pour information from the Pleiades in real time to the grids of this planet. It affects the speed of your awareness and progress. Fast track. Absolute fast track. If you've come in with a consciousness that things are the same, progression will be the same, learning will be the same, you're wrong. Some of you, I promise, are going to be overwhelmed with the speed. Some of you already are. Of this energy. I want you to be overwhelmed with tears. I want you to worry. There's nothing wrong with you. How much energy can you receive? You better put a stopper on it. You better tell Spirit how much you can take, because if you don't, we're just going to pour it at you until you yell uncle. That's a colloquialism from my partner. I have no idea what it means. This is good news, dear one. This is great news. We're starting to fill you up, if you'll allow us. Reader, are you ready to expand that box? What else is there to expand? You've got some accomplishments you want to do. You've got some things you'd like to change. It's in the works, because the wind is at your back. Finally, I would like to tell you about compassionate action one more time. One of the keys to becoming accelerated, more wise, and to understand more about what you can do next, which will enhance what you're here for, is that you would become more compassionate in your life. This is old information. We have given you then since 2012, compassionate action is the key. Become more like the masters were. But you still don't get it. Your compassion you're pouring out to a poor person, and you go home and hate a rich neighbor. I know who's here. I know who's listening. And you're comfortable with that, dear one? Selective compassion. You're comfortable with that? Is that what the masters of the planet did? Did they select who they were going to pour out their love to? Or did it matter to them? Every single human being is here for a reason with a puzzle. Every one of them. The ones you don't like, every one of them. The ones that are frustrating to you, every one of them. Can you look at them with a compassionate heart and see inside it? Why are they troubled? Why are they dysfunctional? Why are they the way they are? A prisoner has taken many lives. He's there forever. He'll never see freedom again. What he's done has been despicable, horrible. When you look at him, how do you feel? You feel sorry for him? And we're not talking about sorry. Can you look into him and see the compassion of his path and what he chose to do this time around, dysfunctional or not, and have compassion for his heart? He will never return it. He may be broken forever psychologically. He may never know you. What did the masters do? That's what they did. You look into the heart of those, no matter who they are, on the street or in your own family, and all you see is God. The face of God, just like with you, just like with you. And what they've done with it is their business, their process and their path. This kind of compassion is going to change your life. It's going to change the planet you walk on, and it's going to be the key to the success of the old soul. That's compassionate action. It's an update things we've never said before in this way, for you to hear again and again and again. Old souls, you're biased. You're used to the way things were. For lifetimes. It comes with the territory of being an old soul. Your Akash actually biases you with the way it used to be. Everything that comes forward in your Akash is old energy you. And yet you have to use it. We want you to use it. But we want you to shift it into the new energy you. All of this is doable. Many of you already are. That's the message. I told you to be positive. It is. Dear ones, we sit here and we see potentials based upon this wind at your back that you've never experienced before and you're about to experience. With pure intent and compassionate action, nothing can stop you. Expect benevolent change. Expect benevolent change. And so it is.
Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. There are so many messages that we have given over the years. And each time it begins, and each time my partner sits in the chair, he's unaware of what's coming. But he's often presented with emotions. And the emotions come from that which is the other side of the veil and often corresponds with the kind of message that is going to be given. And if it's going to be scientific, there will be a certain kind of emotion. If it's going to be informational, a certain kind of an emotion. But when it's going to be about the love from the other side of the veil to you, he knows it. And that's what this is. We go from channelings which are filled with revelation, history, beauty, to ones that are simply loving, with no agenda of teaching. This is an exposition of who you are. And to do this correctly, I want to tell you this. Again and again, I've said this. You need to hear it now, again. Those of you in the chairs need to hear it. I know who's here. Spirit knows who's here. The creative source, who made you, knows who's here. You do not live in some kind of vacuum. And yet it feels that way, does it not? It feels like you are surrounded by yourself and that's it. And we've said it over and over. This is the situation that you create as a human being. The circumstances of being linear. That it's just you, one body. And as you walk around, it's just you. But that is not the case at all. The soul that you have, that you call many things, the higher self, that which is grander, the innate, goes way beyond that which walks around in biology. There's pieces and parts of you that are connected to every single other human on earth. There are pieces and parts of you that are connected to the other side of the veil.
You belong to what is called the soup of God, a group, not just of entities, a group that is the fiber of all things. The peace of God that is in you, the section of God that is in you, is connected to all things. And that hides so completely from you. It hides so much that those of you in sorrow and depression, frustration, will go into the corner by yourself, never understanding that there are so many with you, never understanding the connection you have to the other side of the veil. It's always there. The energy of consciousness on this planet literally has dictated the closet you're in. The teaching that you've had even since birth has dictated who you think you are. And who you are is so much bigger. That's been our message for so many years. And getting you to realize it is what the channelings are all about. And so we do it yet again, in a different way. But all of the things that we do are slowly graduating into clearer and clearer metaphors. I'm going to give you another one tonight. So profound this could be for you, if you let it. If you let it. It's more than a story. Much more. And every single piece of it means something else. And that is the way teaching works. You peel the onion of revelation of what is being said in my partner's language into something that becomes what is felt and actionable with you. Actionable is a term we use which means applying to the reality of your life. Something that is actionable for you is more than you listening. It is you becoming. As I tell this story about a human who has a vision. Visions are interesting. And you would define vision differently from person to person. But let's define it for this story. The human being who steps out of three-dimensional reality for just a few moments and sees things not in his or her world. A vision, a presentation of a grand truth with things that hide, things that are revealed, and things that you can revisit later in your memory. Some of the prophets who walked this planet that were the most profound had visions, even before they began, of who they would be, what would happen to them. This is a vision of one human, a human who has no name, a human who stands in front of a door in this vision. And it's an enormous door. And on the title, on the door, the title of the door, on a sign, it says, "The Library of Self." A funny term, to have a library of self. But the human who opens this door knows that inside there will be a great deal to learn. A library would indicate volume after volume of information. Of self would indicate to the individual that it might be personal, if the self was of the human who opens the door. The human doesn't open the door. The human calls for a guide to open the door. Now, this is because in this vision, it is necessary to have an outside source reveal for the vision. And so in comes a nameless guide with an enormous key ring. This particular guide will then accompany the human in this library, because what the human is about to see will require more doors, more unlocking, more revelations, more metaphors, and a little mystery. The guide opens the door. Now here is a metaphor where the guide is not talking to the human yet. It's understood that the guide shows up with a key because the human wants to get in. The door is unlocked. And as it's opened, it's obvious it has not been opened for a very long time. Where the door's hinges squeak with age. A dim light is there, but the light starts to increase as the human goes in. Without an apparent switch or torches or anything you might expect to create the light, the human arrives and the light is turned on. And immediately the human does not see a library with shelves or books, but a hallway with more doors. And the doors have names on them of things you would expect in a library, subjects to be discovered, to be examined. There is no necessarily order in this hallway. The human can start anywhere. But the human in question with this vision sees the labels. And the first one is how things work. That is really interesting. You might have even labeled it physics or science or chemistry. It's how things work. You see some of the other labels on the other doors. There's one called history, one called past. There's one called relationships. There's subjects. And in every library, he doesn't know what to expect. Behind each door, could it be a giant room filled with books, information? The library of self. He motivates immediately toward how things work, looks at the guide gets out the key. Now, they didn't exchange any words, and there was no permission. May I go in? There was none of that. There was, guide, would you please open the door? There was none of that. He simply looked at the door, and the guide arrives with the key. The door is open, and a vast room is revealed. How it works, literally, is all of the processes of the universe, all of the physics, all of the chemistry, even the multidimensionality of entanglement and beyond, consciousness that becomes physics, graduate planets, how it works. Thousands of books, balconies of books, ladders that would reach seemingly to the sky with a light. And he realizes, I'll never get through this. I'll never get through this. The reaction is interesting to the human who looks at it and says, it's overwhelming. I don't think I'll begin. And yet the things that are closest to him on the ground floor seem to be germane, or that is to say, relevant to his life. How things work for him, for her, in this human. And the human begins to read certain things and finds, oh my goodness, I never knew this. That explains this. Wow, think of the things in this room. If I could only stay here. In the vision, there is an assumption of a time a time that is going to end. In other words, the clock is ticking for the vision, and he can't stay very long. And so the human knows that there is no time to study everything, but the vision says it's all there. The human wants to go to some of the other rooms. If there's time, I'll come back. This one is absolutely fascinating. It's all about how things work, and some of these things explain what has happened to me. How things work is not just physics and chemistry. Wow, it's intertwined with my life on how things have happened physically for me in this lifetime, what it is. Can you imagine such a library that touches on the core of what you've been through from your birth to now? You're overwhelmed with the fact that all was known and is in a book. He leaves the library, closes the door, and it's locked. Now, there is a symbolism here that says that the human is only allowed to look at one library at a time. That symbolism is that the human is linear, still linear. In this vision, still linear. But as the human begins to open the doors, he realizes that even that is starting to change. Could it be that the human is changing even as the library is examined? That's something to think about. He peeks at another door which says history. He's not really into a lot of history, but he knows that beyond that door there are things that no one knows. Some things that have been mysteries forever. He looks at the label on the door, and the guide opens the door. Again, he enters. A light starts to come with him as he steps around, and he starts to see another library, segmented into areas, civilizations that he's never heard of. The ones he has heard of is one section, the ones he's never heard of in other sections. And there are section after section after section, civilization after civilization, names he doesn't know, writing he doesn't recognize. Phenomenal. The ones he does recognize, he sees. He recognizes the words of the civilizations that he knows about. And he starts to read. And he says, I never learned that in school. I didn't know that. Look at this. They were here before these and those, and wow. This is an amazing thing. Things that go beyond anything that I've ever learned in school are right here. Right here. Again, he's cognizant of the clock. He realizes there are so many rooms. There are huge libraries to see. Oh, there are so many volumes, thousands, tens of thousands, describing civilization, history, how things work, how he's related to all of it. He exits this library and goes back into the hall and sees the next room is called the past. What's the difference between history and the past? He's about to find out. He looks at the label on the door and it opens. The guide is there with the key. Different keys, different doors. The light follows him in because of his presence as a human. And then he sees it. Not books, but crystals. And each crystal has its own story. And he realizes, just from the training that he has had as an old soul, he has entered the library of the cave of creation. And in this is not history, unless you call his, her history. It's the history of the human. Each crystal represents a lifetime on the planet. Like some other metaphors we've given, other caves, he touches the crystal and immediately is given the story of himself in another time. She has another name, this human. He has another name, this human. There is another gender. One time a man, one time a woman. They're not lined up in any order. They're all the same size, and there are thousands. Overwhelmed he is, she is, with the profundity of what is there. It occurs to this human that they have been here forever, as long as Earth has allowed humans to be here. There's a crystal for every lifetime. We once gave you a metaphor, a puzzle, and it involved Jason and the cave. And in that, the human called Jason was so enamored with touching the crystals that he never got out. He spent his life touching crystals to find out who he used to be. That's how attractive this is. But she didn't spend that long because there were more. There were more things to show and tell. I'll come back here if I can. It's fascinating. Just a few crystals that were touched brought her into a lifetime with all the facts and the people, the relationships were there. It's almost like the human was living it again. You've gone from books to crystals. You've gone from how it works on paper to touching a crystal and having other visions within a vision. The further you go, the more doors that are open, the more you become multidimensional outside of linearity. Out in the hallway, more doors, more labels. There was one that was attractive, and yet it wasn't. I'll just go there right now. A label on the door. Death. Do I go there or not? What does it mean? Is this vision someplace where I'm going to die? Behind the door, is there an indication of how long I last? Doesn't have a very good name to a human being, does it? Death. She looks at the door. Nothing happens. Where's the guide with the key? I'm brave. I'll see what it does. I'll see what happens here. Where's the door? Key. Where's the guide? And then the human looks at the door closely and sees there is no doorknob. I want you to get this clear. The room is fake. You can't open it. It doesn't exist. The metaphor of the library and the room and the door, there is no death. Profound it is for you to see this, for the human to realize this in the vision. Death would mean that the soul does not exist, and it always does and always has and will forever. In the vision of metaphysical things and the truth, there is no death. There is no way to open the door. There's no way to unlock the door. It's something that doesn't exist. And if you could open it, it would be a brick wall. Are you getting this? More doors, more labels, more things to see. There's one called relationships. What could be in there? You already had the crystals to talk about what you've lived and what you've expressed, and you've had indication of how things went for you. You've had your past lives. all of these things, science, history, it had to encompass relationships. So what could be behind this door? It gets better as it goes, doesn't it? Looks at the door, and out comes the guide. And this time the guide speaks. And the guide says, "Be ready for this." And unlocks the door. The human walks in, and the light goes with him, her. And inside, there's a party going on. And it's a party with everyone that human has ever been involved in all the lifetimes on the planet. The ones they've loved and lost, the ones they still know. It's almost like every soul was there. And they look young and they look beautiful. Just like they met them the first time. If it's a mother or a father from any lifetime, it's when they were young and beautiful with you as a child. If it's a spouse, it's when you married them. If it's a sister or a brother, it's when you knew them as a child. And they're all there together. And the music is beautiful. And it's so emotional. Because it's real. You see, there was no death. Are you getting this? There was no death. The room of relationships is a promise to you, dear human being. A promise. A reality that you should know is in your library. There's a party outside. One more door. It's an interesting door because this door becomes multidimensional and not necessarily understandable. And it's called future. The guide opens the door, the human goes in. The light is enormous, bigger than it ever has been when generated by the human in any other library. It's the biggest room of all. Enormous. But what makes it strange is it's totally and completely empty. Do you get the idea? It's empty because it hasn't been created. There are those in this room and listening to this channel that believe the future, even of this life they have now, is going to be filled with the same kinds of problems and strife that they've had all their life. It's not an empty room. It doesn't have them creating anything. They don't have the ability to understand that tomorrow is a blank page, and that you do not have to carry the burdens of yesterday into tomorrow. Or what you have today that makes you fearful, you can drop on the floor right now and walk into a light that is your creation for tomorrow, a new human that you are. The doors are shut. The light goes dim. The vision is over. Those of you who wish to analyze this will find stories within stories. Everything means something else. But let me tell you something that you probably have already gathered. The multidimensional human being that you are, in your own DNA, has this library existing. It is in you today. It is yours. And you don't need a vision to access it. This is the promise of the shift. The ones who seeded you, finally were able to walk into this library themselves of their own, to see who they were, what they could do, how everything works, the physics of consciousness, the benevolence of belief, the beauty of compassion, as they walked through a society that eventually had no more war, a society that could see the God within and the God without until it finally merged. This is possible with this planet and this civilization because of the shift that has just occurred a few years ago. You are on the infancy, in the infancy, of something enormously grand that will develop over lifetime after lifetime. That is what has happened on this planet. This library inside you exists. Some of you, if you wish, may open any door. You don't need a guide. Dear ones, the guide was necessary in the old energy. The keys are yours. If you want to know really what happened, as you enter what we call the 11th civilization on this planet, you want to know really what happened in that shift in 2012? The whole setup of the nodes and the nulls, the magnetics, all of that gave you the keys to the library. It's here. It's inside you. It's magnificent. And it's discoverable in all of its pieces and parts. Which one are you going to go to first? Which one? You're all very different. You all have the issues that a human who is unique has. And each of you will decide, based upon this short little channel, which library room do you want to enter first? What do you need? And I will tell you, you've got a ring of keys for all the doors, except one. There is no death. The human body deteriorates and goes away. So does everything else. But you, the essence of you, is forever. You will have that room with you every single time you come here. It travels with you. The knowledge of everything is inside. Think about these words. Think about the vision. The library of self is in you now. It's not somewhere else. And you have the keys. I am Kryon in love with humanity. And so it is.